Do you regard black magic as being purely fictitious, or is there some truth in it?
Some truth. 100% truth. There is nothing fictitious about black magic, in any way whatever. It is a fact. It is a fact which has existed for several thousand years. I mean, when we talk about black magic, we are talking about Satanism, necromancy, alchemy, witchcraft, the worship of Satan.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today we're going to be looking at the coronation of King Sausage Fingers, aka King Charles, aka Baby Dracula. And I just basically want to show you all how it's synced up with the coronavirus scandal and how the perpetrators of this ritual have actually left their signature on it for you to see, if you have the eyes. Luckily for you guys, I have the eyes because I've trained myself to recognize the signature. So that is what I'm going to be showing you today. And we're going to get straight into this because I've got quite a bit to talk about. Let's start with the absolute obvious, okay? Some good old etymology. Now, this is always my first step when I start decoding, because 9 times out of 10 you can get everything you need by just pulling a word apart and ciphering it down, which I've shown you all how to do before. So I hope that is something that you do if you are looking for the meaning of a word. Now, this word coronation obviously has the word corona in it, which is Latin for crown. So that makes a lot of sense, given that it is the crowning of a new king. But what I was paying specific attention to was the first 3 letters, which is C-O-R, core. And I just started to look at some other words that began with these letters to try and build up a picture of what kind of energy we're dealing with. When you do that, you'll find words like corruption, corrosive, corporations, corpse, coroner. When you do this, you can actually build up a profile for the word that you're looking into. I mean, the C-O-R here is painting a pretty clear picture. When you look at the definition of these words, it's not exactly a positive. And this is just a good, quick little way to try and unpack what a word really is without going all into the numerical value and ciphering out vowels and changing up the letters. Right, now, why did they pick the 6th of May to do this ritual on? That is a great question, and I will tell you exactly why. And we'll start from the very top. So first of all, I'm sure you all know that the date May the 6th is written 5/6 or 6/5, depending on where you're located in the world. Either way, this date brings us back to the number 56 or 65. Remember, it works like this because these numbers can be read both ways, both left to right, forwards and backwards. Don't ever think that this language only runs one way, because it doesn't. In fact, the language has been completely hijacked, and we've had an entire alphabet occulted from us, leaving us with only 26 letters rather than the 52, which is what we should have. Because 52 represents a full cycle. That's why there's 52 weeks in a year. That number literally represents completion, and they cut that cycle off in all of our language and literally give us 26 letters of death. But I'll touch on that in a different video, because that would require me to explain other stuff that I'm not going into now. So I digress. The date reads 6/5 or 5/6. Well, the word coronation sums to 56. So, I mean, off rip, there we go. Like, that's one of the main reasons they've done it. The date is 5/6, coronation sums to 56. Simple. But so does the word mind control, okay? Which makes a lot of sense to me, because the royal family is one of the biggest mind control programs that the cabal have running. Not so much for the younger people nowadays, but for the old timers, boy, that program runs strong. You better not be disrespecting any of the royal family in front of no old grandparents. You know, they don't play about their love for the royals. So this is why they picked this 5/6 date, you know, for the coronation, because it aligns perfectly with the numerical value of the word. But there is more. And I'm sure you've all heard them repeat over this parade over the weekend. I'm sure you've all heard them repeat about 1,000 times that it's been 70 years since the last coronation. Well, coronavirus as a word sums to 56 and 70. 2 numbers they have explicitly linked to this public ritual. I thought it'd be worth mentioning how all of these ex-PMs are all currently tangentially related to the 56, or have a connection to the 56 in one way or another, because I find this just quite odd, to be honest. So first of all, Tony Blair. Well, Blair was actually born on this 5/6 date, so, you know, that makes perfect sense. He was born on the 6th of May. Boris Johnson, from the day what the coronation was, he was 44 days away from his 59th birthday, again, which is a 56, okay? David Cameron is actually 56 at the time of this coronation. It's just very strange to me that all these 3 British PMs seem to be you know, linked to this 56 in one way or another. And we'll get to Rishi soon because he comes in here to play here as well. But there was one more thing that also piqued my interest about this. You know, I find it highly suspicious that ex-UK Prime Minister David Cameron, his son died on February the 25th. Again, 25th, 25 and 52. I just told you about full cycles and that number. Well, on top of that, February the 25th is quite literally the 56th day of the year. And he died at age 6. The sixth planet from the sun is Saturn. Saturn sums to 93, and Ivan died on the day of the year that leaves 309 days left. I just showed you in my video about Aaron Carter that he was killed on the 309th day of the year. You know, my point being here is that these guys don't stray from patterns. When they like a number, they like a number. And most ritual sacrifices will be oriented around that specific number. I just found that really strange. You know, David Cameron's currently 56 while this coronation's going on. His son was killed on the 56th day of the year, you know, at age 6. It's very Saturn orientated. He died with 309 days left in the year. Saturn sums to 39. You know, it's all connected, okay? And my main point is, yeah, they don't stray from pattern. And then what put the absolute nail in the coffin for me with this whole coronation bullshit was the fact that on the day before, the 5th of May, we had the World Health Organization announcing that COVID is no longer a national health emergency. Also, it was announced by this Baphomet here, yeah, Dr. Tedros. And I know some of you might wonder why I'm calling him this, but let me show you this picture. I pulled this picture off my old Instagram that got hacked. It's hard to see because when you move over it to take a screenshot, the lights come up. But man, look at Dr. Tedros over here in his natural state. Yeah, this is the guy that was trying to tell you how to live your life and stop you seeing your family, you know. This is really the bloke that was trying to give us orders. The audacity is just wild to me, honestly. But guess what? Dr. Tedros was born in, of course, 1965, which brings us back to that 56 yet again. He was also born on the 3rd of March, which is 3/3 or 33. You know, so this guy's just got cabal numbers all over him, to be honest. Right, so that's the 56 and the 70. We need to move on to look at some other things now, because there's more that I want to talk about. And the first thing I need to explain to you guys is the archetype of the old king. Now, Saturn is the old king. The old king is Saturn. And Sausage Fingers was crowned on a Saturday, which is obviously Saturn Day. This is obviously perfect because Saturn is the crowned king in the sky due to its ring system. Saturn is the king of the ring. If you are a WWE fan, you know why. You know, they've had an event called this for many years. It's all Saturn worship. Saturn's the Lord of the Rings, you know, it's all Saturn worship. It's why they... have you ever thought why do boxers say they fight in the ring when the ring is a circle, but it's a square? Have you ever thought about that? They don't say we're going to fight in the square. They say we're going to fight in the ring. Go find me one circular boxing ring. You're not going to find me one. Just think about that. Now, Saturn takes the longest time out of all the planets to orbit the sun, roughly around 29 years. So the name Old King comes from this fact, you know, that it takes so long for it to traverse the sun. And that is why when we look at the iconography for Saturn, all of it is literally some old-ass decrepit man. Saturn is the old king. The oldest king, in fact. We've been under his rights for a very, very long time now. The God in the Old Testament was the old king. That's what that entire book is actually about, you know. And if you're familiar with the Old Testament, you already know that there ain't no nicey loving turning the other cheek type stuff in that book. Nah, man. Like, the deities being discussed in the Old Testament will smite your ass real quick, yeah. And that is the reign of the old king. It's signified by dominance, power and vengeance. And that's literally why all kings end up going mad with power, yeah, consumed by ego and deliverance. I mean, if you're aware of the Game of Thrones lore, yeah, then the Mad King is the walking archetype of what I'm talking about. And one of the biggest rituals we've ever had in the name of the old king is, you could probably guess, I'm going to show you this. Exactly, 9/11. Now, back to baby Dracula, we need to look at the number 123, okay? Reptilians sums to 123 in the most basic English cipher, so this is a very important number. You know, it should also be noted that, as I've spoken about before, there is a primacy to these beings, right? And I find it perfect that their name actually numerically sums to the first 3 letters of our number and lettering system, because remember, 1, 2, 3 is simply ABC. The very foundation of our system begins with this triad, ABC, 1, 2, 3. And that's why they made the song, you know, ABC, easy as 1, 2, 3. And before we get too deep into the 1, 2, 3, I just want to touch on something else really quick. If you're aware of the law surrounding Saturn, you'll know that he ate his own children out of paranoia, like literally munched his own kids out of paranoia. He thought his children would rise up and overthrow him, so he literally ate them. That's old king energy, all right? That's the type of thing I'm talking about. Well, who do we know, or who have we been told by ancestors that are responsible for doing the same thing on Earth, but with our children? Yeah, these 1, 2, 3s. These reptilian beings that have been discussed for centuries by our ancestors. And not only discussed by our ancestors, but pretty much shoved in our face by every major media corporation that's ever existed. This was put out by Netflix and it's on their YouTube channel. Notice this clip is 3 minutes and 11 seconds long. And when we look at the gematria of adrenochrome rituals, we see all of this.
Everything they teach you in school is a lie. You want the truth? The world is controlled by shadowy elites and shape-shifting lizard people.
Let's talk about reptoids. Be sure to follow these do's and don'ts to avoid a diplomatic incident. Do offer them a cricket, mouse, or vole out of your pocket. Fun fact about voles: a vole ate my father. Don't use loaded phrases like hissy fit or see you later, alligator.
Got it. Be respectful. So when do we talk about the orgies?
Oh, come on.
What? Everyone knows reptoids have orgies.
This is an HR meeting.
Andre, Mike, shut the hell up or I will castrate you.
Ha! Good luck figuring out which one of my tentacles is a dick. Trick question. It's all of them.
I'm deciding this is okay. Oh God, this is an orgy, isn't it?
Oh, yes. Yes, it is. Oh, gavel. Give me the gavel. Give me the gavel.
This is it. It's happening.
Oh, hello, HR. Who's ready for some gross misconduct?
I'm sorry, sir, but you tested positive for iguanorrhea.
Motherfucker!
I wasn't done. Iguanorrhea, chlamydia, syphilis, scabies, explosive cloaca disease. Oh yeah, and mushroom herpes.
Wait, what was that last one?
Reagan, you're the life of this party. That's the most natural smile I've ever seen out of Mark Zuckerberg.
So the song Shake It Off was about how I shed my skin every 1,000 years. And the song Bad Blood was about how I drink blood out of my Grammys.
A toast to blood.
Save some blood for Paul Rudd.
I gave you my kidney, and it was delicious.
Reagan, meet my favorite reptoid zentitives, Barb Shrike and Zarthax Griswold Walton of the Reptoid High Council.
Good evening, your lizardness.
Oh, we're not that important. It's not like we control the world.
All rise for the Reptilian anthem.
Let's get down to business. We reptoids have had a great decade. Thanks to propaganda in the media, we have made society more tolerant of our kind, from the Geico gecko to the shape of water. We even got K-Rool in Smash! We did it, everyone! The world temperature is rising. The time is coming, brethren. Soon we shall fulfill the prophecy, overthrow humanity, and become the true rulers of the world!
They say that every year, but they're never gonna do it.
And this is why so many researchers, me included, think that there is a direct link between these particular beings and Saturn, given that the law of Saturn tells us that he was literally eating his babies. And it just seems like it's the negative aspect of Saturn that has had control of this world for so long, right? So check this. I mean, you can't really argue with this, can you? Huh? That's pretty self-explanatory, right? What about this one? Oh, and this one. And I mean, Catholicism is literally, and I mean like seriously, overtly, explicitly, one of the most obviously Saturnalian religions that there is. Like, it's so blatantly Saturn worship. So this is no surprise. And notice the 1, 2, 3 makes an appearance in one way or another in all of these sets of hits. It doesn't have to be the 1, 2, 3 configuration. Remember, it can come as 3, 2, 1 or 2, 1, 3 or 3, 1, 2. Any mix of the 1, 2, 3 is still the same energy being invoked. Now, I've mentioned this before, but Charles is in fact a direct descendant of Vlad the Impaler, who was named the real Dracula. In my video about the bloodline of the Draco, I basically show you how vampires are a thinly veiled reference to the beings from the Alpha Draconian Empire, and this is why we see the DRAC, Drac, in both Dracula and Draco. So Reptilians sum to 1, 2, 3. Well, Charles also sums to 1, 2, 3. As does the Royals. As does Monsters. And as does Conspiracy. Remember when you first realised that Monsters Inc. was about adrenochrome? I remember that day. That fucked me up. The big M with an I, which is basically just a big 13 with an I in the middle. Well, here's another new layer that you can add to that when you realise that Reptilians and Monsters have the exact same numerical value. So it might as well have just been called Reptilians Inc. You understand? The order of the Illuminati sums to 1, 2, 3. Adrenochrome harvest rituals sums to 1, 2, 3. Special military operation and unidentified flying objects both sum to 1, 2, 3. Eat the children sums to 1, 3, 2, which is simply 1, 2, 3. Look, I hope you can see where I'm going with this, because when you start to track and follow this 1, 2, 3 number, boy, yes, stuff gets real crystal. Yeah, Charles 1, 2, 3, Mr. 1, 2, 3 himself. Prince Charles of Edinburgh sums to 1, 3, 2. King Charles III coronation sums to 1, 3, 2. The coronation of King Charles sums to 1, 3, 2. Not only that, but coronavirus rituals brings us straight back to that same configuration in 2 separate ciphers. King Charles coronation sums to 2, 3, 1, and again 1, 3, 2, which are the same number. And remember I mentioned Rishi earlier. I said we'd get back to him, remember? Well, his birthday is the 12th of May. Well, that's the 132nd day of the year. Surprise, surprise. I should also probably mention that Rami Malek, this demon, his birthday's on this day as well. Yeah, this 132 day. He was presenting the Oscars a few years ago. Have a little look what my man tweeted about him. Have a little look what Macaulay Culkin tweeted about him while he was presenting the Oscars. Yeah? Same energy. 132. Same energy. Eat the babies. 132. Please try and argue with me. I'm waiting. Like, come, bring all your smoke. I'm with all, like, I'm not playing in this video. In my first ever video on this channel, I told you that January the 20th, 2020 was the day that all this pandemic stuff really got popping, right? And because when we look at the COVID timeline, we can see that on this day, the CDC started screening for COVID at JFK International, San Francisco International, and Los Angeles International, because those are the 3 most popular airports in the US that do flights to and from Wuhan, right? The following day, after that, on the 21st, the first case was confirmed in Washington, DC. Yeah, it was all downhill from there. Yeah? This is why we had Event 201, right? It's why it was called Event 201. Put a slash in that. Event 201 is Event 20th of the 1st. From the 20th of January, when that ritual was started, and things were put into motion, from the 20th of January 2020 to the day old Sausage Fingers has been coronated, yeah, the 6th of May, guess how many days that is? Take a wild guess. 1,203. 1, 2, 3. Again. But that's not it. Look at the other numbers we get. 3 years and 3 months. 33. Cabal number. Or just 39 months. I'm done. Like, come on, guys. 39 months? Like, you can't make this shit up if you tried. All of these numbers are relevant to the discussions that we've been having, not only in this video, but in other videos where I've been proving the stuff that I've been coming up with. I couldn't make this up if I tried. Are you being serious? 1, 2, 3, 33 and 39. This was one big scam. This whole thing was one big scam. This was just a random video that I decided to bring out halfway through. I've got a normal plan, normal schedule of videos still coming. I'm still halfway through doing one, which should be out before the end of the month. But yeah, I had to make this because it's just ridiculous, honestly. 1, 2, 3. Remember that number. It's important. 1, 2, 3 as easy as A, B, C. Yeah, don't let these lot finesse your brain no more, please, man.